Okay,
Oh
well,
yeah.
welcome. This is Mark, and welcome to my show. This is Mark. Welcome to my show, Tea with Lore. I am with our very own Lore, who also is known as Joan, and I assume that Lore is like your stage name, right?
That's my real name. Joan was actually it's part of the whole Doctor Who thing. The account that ended up being used for this is the one that we used to post all the Doctor Who videos, and that was our because you couldn't just call the account Doctor Who because they knew it wasn't a name. So we picked a name that sort of relates to the show, and it ended up being what I used for this, which was a bit confusing.
Well, that is very interesting, Laura. So I want to ask you like a quick question that we have here, and something that came up is having childhood imaginations, and
hmm
what does childhood imaginations have to do with lore?
I used to play a lot of games that I would make up with my best friend. We'd pretend to be spies, we'd invent gadgets, we'd write stories where we'd go on adventures to magical islands. I live right near the forest, so we used to use all the weeds. We'd pluck them out and use them as like arrows and have games with arrows, trying to throw them at each other. I was always making up stories as a kid, always dressing up, running around outside. I don't think that's ever really left me, actually. I still just feel like a big kid.
Okay. Um, Now, what does self-doubt mean to you?
Self-doubt. It's something that has been present in my life since I was a little kid. Uh, Mainly, it's amazing the influence that other people have on you without either of you even realizing it until later. But I guess I got into a state of yeah, very much doubting myself and not being confident in who I was. People. There are certain ways that people live in society that I didn't fit into. Like the kids in my school always wanted to be the grown-ups and be teenagers, and I didn't. I was very much Peter Pan. I didn't want to grow up. So as a kid, I just didn't really fit in with them, and that's probably where the self-doubt started. And my whole life up to now, I think, it's really been a journey of a bit freeing myself from that and realizing that I have the power, not them. The power is within me, and I have gifts, I have skills that I can use to help people and to bring joy and peace and challenge people to think more. And so I saw it as a battle for a long time, but I think that's not. It's helpful in a certain sense, but at this point now in my life, it's not so much a battle as well an adventure, and I can just choose not to focus on the doubt and all that stuff, and instead continue forth on my quest.
Okay. You know, that is definitely, something that I feel, coming from who you are. And, what is, having, fear of, speaking in public or sharing your ideas or thoughts with strangers have to do with you?
I think that very much stems from the whole self-doubt thing, being afraid that I'll be rejected or that these things that are very much a part of myself that for a long time I was too afraid even to put out there that because they'll be rejected. So it's taking that step of just going for it because the more I do, the more people really connect with it and encourage me to do more. And you get to realize, wow, this is just I've been lying to myself all these years of thinking that I don't have anything of worth. Everyone, and of course there's that whole double standard thing too. Like I think everyone else has something of worth. Everyone is special and important and amazing, but when it comes to thinking of myself, I have a whole other set of standards that I've always applied to myself, which I now realize and am breaking down.
Well, Joan, there's definitely a sense of genuinity in yourself that we all do love and adhere to. Now, I feel compelled to ask you, but what about like childhood programming, and as such, the term of being seen but not heard?
Childhood programming. Well, I come from a family of musicians, and music's always been a part of my life, and that was always encouraged. But when it comes to the acting and drama, that it was encouraged to a point, but um, to be considering that as a career was always no, you can't make a career out of that, and there was always a sort of a block there with other people trying to impose things. I've definitely always been heard, but I've probably not so much other people telling me I shouldn't be, but me telling myself that I'm not worthy to be heard. I'm just, there in the background um, until fairly recently when I've started to, I guess, find my voice and yeah, realize that there are a multitude of ways that I can be both seen and heard that is useful and helpful to other people and to myself. I think a lot of the childhood programming was my own doing in how I reacted to things. I had a pretty good childhood, like a bit of bullying and whatever, but a lot of people experience that, and I've, been realizing how that's affected me and being able to move past that. Power of the mind.
Well, Laura, let me ask you this because this is kind of interesting because you have a sore throat, and something that comes up a lot is throat. What what is throat in relation to you?
Throat. Well, throat and voice and singing and speaking. It's been quite frustrating having a sore throat actually because I haven't really realized I've started singing lessons recently and I've been singing all the time in the car. I've been getting more confident and suddenly not being able to was a challenge. So I've been focusing on other things so I don't get too annoyed at not being able to do that one.
um, Laura, what about communicating your truth? What is communicating your truth?
What is it? It's well, I find I communicate best through music and writing and acting, um, much better than real life, I guess, because I have time to sit and contemplate and really craft what I want to say without any external pressure. So I think the truth has often come through that. I've got a whole bunch of poems and songs, and the more I study different characters, the more I see myself and see others in them, and I'm able to identify universal human traits and things that often when I'm just in a conversation, it can be quite surface, and then afterwards I'll go and think and analyze and realize, oh, there was always levels to that. The truth, yeah, you have to look for it a lot of the time. Well, all the time, really.
Laura, I'm very impressed because actually, it's pretty amazing here, and I'm going through, a lot of words here that are coming up and everything, and you seem to be really, online with, everything I'm reading here, and, I see, the effect about overstimulation of your throat, and that relates to laryngitis or other inflammations of the throat. Does this happen to you frequently?
um, Actually, no. This is the first time I've since I was about 12. I've actually come close to losing my voice. I usually have a strong voice, not always in public, but definitely at home. I've more and more because I guess I've been more and more becoming more confident and less scripted. I found myself humming or whistling or singing when I've just been walking down the street or on the train, and then suddenly realizing, oh, that's why people are looking at me. I unconsciously am making all these sounds. I've becoming more vocal until I got sick, but I'm getting better, so that will only be temporary.
Well, that's very good. That's good to hear. Now, do you believe in like guides or angels at all?
Yeah, yeah. I believe in. I was brought up by my mum, like church and things, and I definitely believe that there are yeah, angels and God and there's things out there that we can't really. There's always things we won't understand, and I think there are lots of good things out there that we don't understand, but they're there.
Do you have any like negative or repetitive negative speech patterns or habits?
Um, well, everyone does, I think. I think what I was saying before would be a bad habit in that the whole having a double standard for myself and for everyone else. I'm very hard on myself. I'm very self-deprecating, um, and that yeah, a very strong script in that respect. And I tend to if I the whole guilt thing. I don't do something or I do something wrong, and then I just keep on spiraling down into, oh, I'm a failure, I can't do blah 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 blah, all of that, and that's been a real challenge, well, all through my life, really. But I feel like this has really helped me to begin to rise above it and stop fighting with it, and instead just, it's uh, been pushed away. But even though I haven't been trying to, instead I've been, focusing on the good and on what I can do, not what I can't do or what I haven't done yet.
What does clarity mean to you?
Clarity, knowing who you are and what you're doing, where you're going, having a clarity of vision, and having taken that time to actually to have quiet moments of self-reflection and of observing and being aware of not just yourself and your state, but also of the world around you and of other people around you. I definitely associate clarity with outward um, expression, and with if I think someone's got clarity, it's because they are very aware of everyone else, not just themselves, and they know what they're doing and why they're doing it, and they're prepared for whatever might happen. They're not worried about what might happen, but whatever happens, they're ready for it, to embrace it.
And what about confidence? What is confidence in your life?
In my life, confidence to me is very much entwined in love, in being loved. For a long time, I would just shut myself down. I wouldn't, if I was hurt, I wouldn't let anyone know. I wouldn't show it. That's where music and drama came in. I'd express it all through that, but not with other people. I wouldn't let myself be vulnerable. Um, and that actually led to less confidence. And in the last few years, I've, through my fiance and through my friends, actually allowed myself to be vulnerable and just speak the truth, and not put up that wall all the time, start to break that down. And that's led me to be more confident because I know that I am loved by all these people and that I love them as well. So why would I not be confident when there's so much love?
Laura, why music?
It is a huge part of me. For as long as I can remember, I've always played music whenever I feel like it. There's always been instruments. I've always sung. I've always made up things. I remember as like a 5-year-old sitting in the car and making up little ditties and humming them to myself in time with the car moving. It's just who I am, and it's how I express myself. It's what I default to when everything else is uncertain or really hard or painful. Music is a healing force for me, and it's also how I have been able to help others the most, I think, in writing people songs and sharing music with them when I can't find any words to try and help. I often struggle a lot with I want to help and I don't know how, and music is a very safe way, a pretty surefire way, because it is universal, such a universal language, and it can't be misinterpreted, whereas words have so many meanings, and the way you say it can change it. Music, it's music.
Music has energy to it. Music
Definitely.
is uplifting, inspirational, and also it can be depressing and cause a negative impact. What type of music do you see yourself, actually portraying out to the world?
I hope. I hope I give people hope through the music. It changes depending on what I'm going through and how I'm feeling. But so lately, it's been very much uplifting and positive and caring. When you guys were asking me to write something from a place of love, I found that really powerful, and that's how I have been communicating with people I know who are struggling with things. I'll sit down and go, right, I'm going to make you something out of love, and you're going to feel that love because that's what it is, and this is what I will do. And it's been really powerful that way. And even when I was in a very negative space, the music, it would have that negativity, but I've always clung to hope, and I think that's always been a spark in even the most depressing of music that I've written.
Music definitely, in your music, I could see really, changing lives. And we hear music everywhere we go. You go to the stores, the malls, or whatever. They're always playing music or whatever. And I think it's such an influential part of our lives, music. And
Yeah.
another thing that I see that you've chosen is acting. And you become quite a sensation over here with your Doctor Who, and everything. And you're always filming, so. There's something that, I asked you earlier about childhood imagination and everything,
Mhm.
and I don't have any kids, but I've been around kids. One thing I do know is, because I know that when I was a child, is that they make believe.
Yeah.
What's making believe for you, Laura?
um, it definitely it's the same as when I was a kid. It a lot of the time it is to create the world in a way that you want it to be, or to be the person you want to be, or be on an adventure, and there is an element of escapism. But make believe, yeah, for me it comes back to storytelling and connecting with people through metaphor or allegory, or characters that people see themselves in, and a catharsis, being able to experience emotion, and yeah, I've always compulsively. That's why music and drama performing. I've always compulsively done that because it helps me to get to know who I am and what I believe through being in imaginary circumstances or interacting with characters, and also for other people to go through that process as well. And I love making believe and being around kids and going on those adventures, and you can turn a stick into anything, and it's just such a sense of freedom, and it's yeah, it's outside of judgment because everyone has agreed upon this imaginary world, and it somehow heightens everything. Because I guess in reality, people aren't always happy with it, or they're blocking out other people, or they're closing their minds to certain views or ways of thinking. But when you're in an imaginary world with other people, when you're sharing it with other people, you've all agreed on the rules and you're all having fun. You're there in that spirit, which I find very empowering.
Lord, that was lovely. I just have to ask you, a question, and I mean, I'm not sure if it was the same show, but I remember when I was a kid, and I'm in my 40s. I used to watch Doctor Who. I don't know if it's the same Doctor Who, and I thought that it was off the air, but why Doctor Who? What does Doctor Who do?
I've been trying to answer that question for so long. I first saw it as a teenager, and I think I really identified with the Doctor, with being someone who could see a lot and wasn't afraid to, or was afraid and still did anyway, go and help people and be a leader and be someone people looked up to. And it's also that thing of the unique thing about it is that you can tell any story, that you can go anywhere in all time and space. There are aliens. You can make up whatever you want, and it allows us to see Earth and ourselves from the perspective of an alien, of someone else, and that's something that is very powerful, I think, because it gets us out of our own heads, and we can see ourselves for what we really are. And just that the imagination and the spectrum of it, and all the wonderful characters and the villains that people, I can have a conversation with anyone about this show because it is accessible to anyone. It doesn't, lock out certain ages or certain types of people. And the messages that it brings are all very positive and uplifting and helpful, and helping to bring life. That's a real sense I get from it. Whereas I was never like a big nerd in this sense. I was always a music nerd. This is the first and only television show that I was ever properly inspired by as a human being, and I've never seen anything else like that to date. And it gave me such hope for what I wanted to do, because there's always been that tension between, art is amazing, music's amazing, look at all this impact it can have on people and things it can do, versus, oh, look at the media and all the terrible messages and superficialness, and that stuff I really just discouraged me a lot. But seeing Doctor Who, and every time I watch it, I'm inspired. It doesn't matter if I've seen it a million times, it still affects me and makes me hopeful and makes me want to do it. That's why I want to be an actor. I want to play the Doctor. I want to be able to inspire people like that and give them what it gave me.
Well, Lore, you are doing it. Look, you have all these videos. I mean, you're playing the part. I just want to read an affirmation to you that that came up because before we started, I actually picked blue, and I picked a crystal called Blue Lace Algate, and I've been reading stuff from here in this book, and it seems like I've been kind of like, picking things out about you from who you are inside, and it seems like I've been answering everything very, genuinely. So this comes from this Blue Lace Algate crystal. I'm just trying to, see how people align with things they pick.
Mm.
And so this says, I communicate my ideas with clarity, conviction, and irresistible eloquence. How does that relate to you?
Well, I can be eloquent in very specific areas. I often feel like I'm not, but then people tell me I am, so that I guess there's something there. Writing, I love to write. That requires a degree of eloquence. Clarity, I think I'm still finding it, but actually no, I've always had a sense of what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be the hero and go on the adventure, and I'm still doing that. So I think that's definitely always been there. What was the other one?
Communication and conviction.
Ah, that. Well, what I do is communicate. Well, what everyone does is communication, but very much performing and writing and music is another language. Um, and it connects us. Communication. Yeah, I am a very I can't think of the word. Huh, so much for eloquence. Uh, I am I do have conviction. I think the things that I believe have been tested and tried, and I've stuck to them not out of dogma or blind belief, but because it felt right. And when I think something is right, I will stick with it and I will fight for it. Um, and yeah, I have things that are important to me that I believe in, basically.
Well, Laura, you're actually, you're doing a lot. You're wanting to tell, the world about like this type of Olympics event that you're in, and what you desire to achieve.
Okay, so the Olympics for Performing Arts, basically in Hollywood, and it is set up as a competition, but that's not why I'm going. I'm sure a lot of people will be there because they want to win the medals. I'd love to get a scholarship, but I'm going there because it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm so excited to meet all these different people who have similar interests and passions to me, and I'd love to connect with them and inspire them. And I'm very excited to perform for whoever the judges are and whoever ends up being there, and to communicate the joy that I get from it, and hopefully be able to share that with them through my original compositions and through what I've written for acting. And it's just very super exciting. And I'm also excited to go to America because I've been there once. I have family there, but I was about 4, and all I remember is we got an Easter egg stuck on the washing line, and we never got it out.
Wow. America can't wait to see you, Laura. I'll tell you that much. You definitely
Yeah,
bring a lot of light over here, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having you over here. And you've been such inspirational, person to a lot of us, and your contributions are actually very well duly noted and everything like that. And you do have a gift, and I do see you really, going places in your life and everything. So at this point, what I'd like to do is somebody is listening to this recording at this very moment on the recording that we are right now. So somebody has been listening or is listening right now. It may not be live, but it might be recorded. It could be in the future. It could be a day. It could be now or tomorrow. But someone's listening. And one thing I want to ask you is at this particular moment in time that we're in this recording, what advice can you give to any random person? Just any advice that is helpful and useful, that is relevant to you, that you could tell this particular person. It could be anything. It could be any type of advice that you feel intuitively guided to tell any random stranger or person you may know that's listening to this recording at a particular time. What would you tell this person?
I would tell this person that they are loved by their friends and family, by me, and by the universe, and that the universe is not working against you. Things aren't conspiring against you. They want to help you be the best that you can be, and it's difficult to see that all the time, and that's fine. But just know that, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable with other people. Although there is the potential to get hurt, there is a much bigger and more positive potential of saving someone's life, really, in any sense, emotionally, mentally, physically, and connecting. I think connecting is the most important thing as a human being, to connect with other human beings and with the world around us. So I would encourage you to make as many connections as possible.
Well, Laura, we thank you for participating and for being a guest on Tea with Laura. It's been a wonderful pleasure having you. I know that you did this despite having a cold and a sore throat, and
As long as you can understand me, it's all good.
you did a most awesome job in the world, and I definitely do thank you. And I'm going to turn on the broadcast.